Welcome back to Big Mouth and fancy seeing you guys here. Yes, the critics have reacted to Aquaman. The social media embargo has been lifted and the response is 100% positive. As a DC fan who's seen this movie, I wholeheartedly agree with the reactions. But we must take a step back and approach this situation with severe caution, because the moment an embargo lifts, it doesn't mean they're free to say whatever they want. An embargo lift will see critics and pundits give a surface reaction. So normally you can read between the lines. With Justice League, they were saying things like flawed fun, which at the end of the day kind of showed that we were probably going to get some negativity within the reviews. But with this reaction, there has been no negative beats whatsoever. So it's absolutely positive. But as I say, we've got to be very, very careful as we proceed here and not assume that the reviews are going to be 100%. We know the agenda with DC. The only one who said it was good rather than great was that Jim geezer from IGN. We know IGN are biased towards the MCU. There's no question. Anyone who follows IGN knows their agenda. So that's no surprise. But basically, throughout the board, it is really, really positive. Some people even saying it goes beyond The Dark Knight. One of the great things for me is Jason Momoa getting all this praise, because a lot of critics don't see Jason Momoa as a very good actor. But in this film, he actually proves that he is. And I think he proved that in Game of Thrones anyway. James Wan gets so many plaudits, and it's so he should. It's a beautifully directed film. The performances are beautiful, and that has got to give the director lots of credit. But really, the people who should get the most credit with this are Walter Hamada and James Wan. You know, what a difference, as I said before, a year makes. Walter Hamada came in to take control of a very, very difficult challenge, a difficult gig. After the negativity for Justice League, the split in opinions over Batman v Superman and Man of Steel, the negative reviews for Suicide Squad, he's done a fantastic job. And if you go back to my videos and you go back to my responses on social media, you will always know that I've always had 100% faith in Walter. He is a genius. He's a clever creative. Without saying one word publicly, until up till now, not having one film to release, to respond to Justice League, to try and get positivity back into this franchise, he steered the ship so fantastically well by all the information that they've released, by all the movies they've announced and actors and directors they've announced. It's been fantastic, and you know, credit to Walter Hamada. This is a fabulous film that will make you proud to be a DC fan, and the responses are, you know, actors, directors, pundits, everyone. But as I say, embargo reactions are surface. You will get deeper reviews, and they will have a balance to those reviews. But it will be very interesting in the reviews what they say about the film, because thus far it's extremely positive, and I think that's amazing. That is amazing. There was so much riding in this movie because of the problematic past of this franchise, and what they have done with this film is brought positivity. Some people are even saying it's better than Wonder Woman, and if pundits and critics are saying it's better than Wonder Woman, you better believe we're onto a winner here. For Walter Hamada to come in his first film and get a positive response is a fantastic achievement. Now, what does this mean for the box office? I said from the beginning, the box office for this will be solid without being fantastic, 500 to 600 million. If they exceed that, maybe they'll equal Justice League, and that's a win. Now, can they now with this reaction? But first we have to wait for the Rotten Tomato scores and the reviews to see how positive the critics and the pundits are going to go with this. we already knew that James Wan was a darling of the pundits and the critics. So there was always a chance that this would happen. But all we can say right now is the response is positive. There isn't an inch of negativity anywhere to be seen. That's amazing. That's fantastic. That kind of hints to you what kind of reviews we're going to get. But it goes beyond what the critics say, because we saw Venom bashed by critics and pundits, and it's made over $800 million globally. That's a fantastic thing. It's beaten DCEU movies. It's beaten some Marvel films. It's amazing, because the reason that film did so well and the audience, the consumer, ignored the critics is because everyone loves Venom. There's so many Venom fans. And Tom Hardy is so popular. It was great casting. But the film is pure entertainment. Something that most Hollywood producers and directors have forgotten to add into their creative efforts. And this is what Aquaman is. There is a commentary about humanity polluting the oceans. That's the core piece of this film. But it works, and it doesn't bash you over the head. It does it in a fantastical way that you can still be entertained by this villain, whose core motivation is because the surface world have polluted the oceans. That's important. That's emotional. That's beautiful. But at the very core of this piece, it really is Momoa's Aquaman, Arthur Curry, going to Atlantis, not because he wants to go to Atlantis, because he wants to protect the surface world. But when he goes there and he discovers his beautiful heritage and what's been done to it, then his mentality changes. And also he realizes his brother's a lunatic. There's a piece of dialogue, he says, I always wanted to have a relationship with my brother, only to find out he's a lunatic and I have to stop him. Now, that's not the exact dialogue, but it goes along that way. And I think that's fantastic. It's got so much for it. You've got Nicole Kidman, great casting. Her performance is fabulous. You really believe she's the mother of this hero. Amber Heard as Mira. Again, I haven't seen anything that Amber's done. And a lot of people have not said that she's been a great performer or had great success with her films. But because James Wan has knitted all these elements together, it works. The writing for this film, the story, the screenplay, all knitted well together. It all works. And with all that, you get this fantastical effects movie, because we haven't seen many underwater films, but this film is about an underwater world. The Seven Kingdoms, right? Unite the Seven. We got that from Zack Snyder, and credit has to go to Zack as well for bringing in James Wan as director, for casting Jason Momoa. He went out on a limb on a radio show and said, I'm going to make everyone love Aquaman, because Aquaman's apart from his fans, has always been seen as a bit of a joke. They're not laughing at him anymore, are they? So a great achievement for, from Zack to knit all that together. But ultimately, when water came in, changes to the film would have been made. Changes that him and his director, James Wan, would have discussed. These two men have got a great working relationship. They've worked together before with New Line Cinema. That's why it was a win-win. Someone said that James Wan, one of the critics said, James Wan must now be given any DC film he wants. I've been predicting Superman for a long time, but we will see. James Wan is a win for DC because the pundits and the critics love him. And that's what's so important here. And if you've got a director everybody likes, you start at a positive playing field. With Zack Snyder, despite him doing a wonderful job as far as I'm concerned, he always came in as a much maligned director. So that means there was people with agendas for whatever he did, where they would have brought the negative instead of looking at the positive. That was the problem with Zack all along. He came with a lot of baggage, and mainly because of Watchmen. A lot of Watchmen fans don't like what he did with that film. Now, I've never read those graphic novels. I love that film, probably because I don't know the core material. But I still think he did a fabulous job with Watchmen. and Watchmen is still now a very popular film. But because James Wan doesn't have this baggage, because when Walter Hamada came in, no one had heard of him before, the expectations were low. Not from me, because I knew what he achieved with New Line Cinema. I knew once he came in that Warner Brothers were not messing about. I think the decision to bring Walter in was made way up before Justice League was. They knew that Justice League was problematic. They just wanted to get the film out there, get it done, and then move on and recreate this franchise. After Justice League, there was talk of reboots and so many rumours and things that haven't come to fruition. Meanwhile, as I said, without uttering a word, Walter Hamada has really turned the ship around, and it's fabulous to actually get these reactions, as I say, 100% positive, is so fantastic. If you're a DC fan, you will be very excited to see this film, because this film is special. But this is just the beginning, because this film gives you the potential to kind of open up this Aquaman universe, this Atlantis universe. It is Star Wars underwater. There's so many more things to do, and this could be the darling of the geek and nerd. This could replace Star Wars in your heart. If Star Wars doesn't turn things around, maybe Star Wars fans will come in and think, well, I want to get to know this universe. This reminds me of Star Wars when it was good. So absolutely fantastic. I'm so happy about the responses. I know how good the film is. Comment down below. Let me know what you think about what the critics and pundits are saying. Please share the video, share the channel, like the video, and I will be back sometime soon to have more discussions. Thank you very much.